Well, believe it or not, it was 16 years ago that I celebrated my last Christmas Mass with you as pastor of St. James. And little did any of us know I would be back. But it is good to be back to celebrate this great feast of our Lord's presence in our world. And it is good to hear children. They are our future, they are our hope. So that is beautiful music. Really, St. James, I am convinced, has the best music, not just in Lawrence County, but in the diocese. Don't they? They do a great job. This gospel we only hear this day, the midnight gospel of Christmas, even though it's not midnight. It might feel like it. But we only hear this gospel once, and it's such a powerful and important gospel to unpack because it begins with setting the context in history of when Jesus was born. Caesar Augustus, Quirinius having the enrollment. Notice something there. God even uses the government to fulfill his plan. As goofy, crazy, and corrupt as the government can be, that we don't lose hope because God's plan will unfold. And so in the context of the political climate of his day, which wasn't much better than our own, God's will is still done. Now, it's interesting that he is born in a town called Bethlehem. Do you know what Bethlehem means? House of bread. That's not by accident. House of bread. Now, how will the Lord leave himself for us in his divine presence? Under the form of bread. He's laid in a manger, which is a feeding trough for animals. He feeds us with himself, the bread of life. He's wrapped in swaddling clothes. Have you ever heard that before? Swaddling clothes? They are like ribbons, they're bands. It's the sight and symbolism of a dead body wrapped up as he would be when he died, in linen cloths, imprisoned by death. But he will destroy death. The linen cloths, this being wrapped in swaddling clothes, is a sign of our liberation and freedom. The angels come to announce that he has arrived. And no one listens to them but the shepherds. It's not the powerful. It's not the important folks. It's common people like you and me who are entrusted with the message to tell the world of Christ's presence. And the saddest line in all of the gospel is that when he came, there was no room for him. And there's still very little room for Christ in our world today. How can we make more room for Christ in our own lives? You made room for him tonight by making the effort to be here. But how much stronger would our Christian world be if we made room for him every day, and certainly every week? Everything else seems to come first. And yet we come first to God. What is the greatest gift that you could give to Christ this Christmas? Perhaps it is introducing someone else to him. Making more room for Christ in our lives. Introducing him to these children, as these good parents have brought them this evening. Introducing him to our co-workers and classmates and other family members. I know it's a struggle today. I know people worry about their children off to college or bringing them back to the faith or to the sacraments. But don't give up. Don't ever give up on sharing Christ with others, because we are all called to do that. And in the end, that is the greatest gift that we can give. Well, they might think it's an iPad or an iWatch or a new car. But the greatest gift that we could give to anyone is to introduce them to Jesus Christ. And wouldn't it be sad? Wouldn't it be a terrible waste of our lives as disciples of Jesus if we die without having introduced another person to Jesus Christ? Time is passing quickly. We're going to be 2019. I remember being here during Y2K. The year 2000, the world was going to end. Do you remember that? It was the first time the bishop said would have a mass across the diocese at 10 o'clock on Christmas Eve, because we weren't sure what's going to happen at midnight. Do you remember that? And look at this, 19 years later, God knows what He's doing. We certainly don't. But time may run out for you and me before we ever introduce someone else to Jesus. May that be our New Year's resolution. And all we have to do is love them.